Okay, so today we're going to be doing the valid palindrome question on LeetCode number 125. So this question in particular, you were given a string. It's a sentence, right? It has periods, commas, capitalization, all sorts of things, right? And the goal is to check from beginning to end if they spell out the same word. So if you take a look at example 2, right over here, race a car, right? We're going to check R, we're going to check A, we're going to check C, but then you have EA, and these aren't the same. So because they're not the same, you're going to return false. If it is the same, like example 1, if you were to remove all the spaces, the capitalization, the parentheses, the colons, and all that, and made this into one singular word, and checked each single letter, this would be the same thing. It would equal the same letters, and because of that, it's a palindrome. So the way we're going to solve this is we need to be able to check the beginning and the end and kind of increment on each side. So the incrementing alone, that should kind of give you a hint that this has to be using some sort of two-pointer method, right? Because we need a pointer at the beginning, we need a pointer at the end. But the first thing we need to do is make sure that our sentence S is not littered with capitalizations, parentheses, and so on, and instead is just the word itself. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make everything lowercase, right? So we are setting the variable s, right? So this is setting s so all the letters are lowercase. So this is step 1, right? And then step 2 should be a for loop, right? So actually before the for loop, we need to create a variable. We'll call this variable word, right? And we're going to set it to an empty string. And the reason for this is we're going to use a for loop to iterate through every single letter, right? And add it into the word string. So how we're going to do that is for letter in S, right? We're going to do an if statement. If letter dot is alumnum, right? So before we even continue, we have a for loop, which you have letters in S. S um, is the argument in here, right? And letter is what we're iterating. So for this example, right, um, letter in S. So letter first will be R, then A, then C, then E, then A, then C, then A, then R, right? Why? Because S is equal to this. And then the if statement says, okay, well, if the letter we're on, so first loop, letter is R. Is R an alumnum? An alumnum, this method, what this does is basically checks if that said letter is either a normal letter or a number, right? If it's not that, meaning if it's a comma, parentheses, don't count it, right? So if it is, right, if it is what we're looking for, which is a letter or a number, then we're going to do word plus equals letter, right? So now what's going to happen is we have a variable called word, which is going to equal, in example 1, right, if this is what we had, right, if this is what s is equal, then word is going to equal this, right? Perfect. Now we can finally do the two-pointer technique, which we're going to need to create two variables, or pointers, one of them being at the start and one of them being at the end, which we get the end by just doing length of whatever we're, going through, which is s, or not s actually, word, minus 1, and then a while loop, while start is less than n, right? Because start will always be less than n until, we start iterating. We are going to do, while start is less than n, we're going to check if word at index start is equal to word at index n, right? This is the condition, and if it is, then that's great. We want to keep on looping to make sure that the rest of them are, right? We're going to add start with 1 and subtract n by 1. We add 1 to start because starting at 0, right? So we want to go forward, right? We want to go and check the letters ahead. And because n is equal to the last letter, we want to be going back, right? So that's why we subtract by 1, right? Else, right, if it's not equal, we are just going to return false. Return false, right? Lastly, if the else statement isn't met, and we keep on checking and it keeps on equaling to one another, then we could return true. Beautiful. And then let's give this a run and see if everything is matching. Perfect. So all really is to take for this question is it's kind of broken into 2 parts. So this is kind of like one of the first questions you get where you have to kind of do multiple tiny things in order to retrieve the output. So the first step is this whole line of code here, which is you make the sentence lowercase, you create a string, an empty string, and you create a for loop. And you create a for loop to check if every single letter is just a letter or a number. If it's not, get rid of it. If it is, keep it and add it to that empty string. Once you do all that, then you use our 2 pointers to go throughout the string and make sure that the beginning and end are equal, right? And we keep on iterating through. If they're not equal, we return false. If they are, then the while loop ends and we return true.